everyone has a role to play in this thing. It's not the role for only activists, but the role for everyone. We were hit by the famine in the northern eastern part of Uganda, that's the Karamoja region,
Okay.
whereby you would see how people are boneless, like people hardly have nothing to eat just because of the prolonged drought. Most of the people who are most affected, they're not the main people who are causing this issue we are suffering, and you find they're greatly impacted and they end up losing their lives. We need climate justice. It really requires to sit down with the people who are most affected so that you listen to them and provide that clear solution.
Hello, welcome to Earth Talk, the podcast for people and the planet. A space where we talk about global challenges from different perspectives, whilst we try to focus on solutions and reasons to be hopeful in times like these. I'm Leo Holdak, and thank you for tuning in. Hello, welcome to today's episode. Today our guest is Edwin. He's a climate activist from Uganda. And Edwin, thank you so much for taking your time being here. And how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for hosting me. I'm doing quite fine because I've been moving up and down. Yeah, but I'm feeling good. Yeah.
All right. For the people who don't know you, do you mind to introduce yourself a little bit and say like who you are, and where you're from exactly?
Okay, my name is Edwin Namakanga, a climate activist from Uganda, part of Fridays for Future and also Rise Up movement.
Mm-hmm.
And back at home, I come from central part of Uganda. That's where we are staying temporarily in Kampala, the capital of Uganda. And originally, my mom and dad, they come from the eastern part of Uganda,
All right.
next to the mountain Elgon slopes. So that's where my origin is. That's where
Yes.
my grandparents are. So, yeah, but permanently we are staying in the capital of Uganda, that's Kampala.
All right.
Yeah.
And can you maybe, like, I've never been to Kampala. How is Kampala like? Like, how does it smell? How does it sound? Like, how is it? Like, small impressions. Like, how is the place?
If I'm to describe Kampala region, there are a lot of taxis, borders, very many people, but of course there is hospitality whereby people are welcoming. That's the brief I can describe about my city where I grew up from ever since I was young. And of course, I won't forget this Uganda, it's the pearl of Africa because it has a variety of natural resources and
Mm-hmm.
good sceneries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And as we're talking in this podcast about solutions to the climate crisis and about diverse perspective on those solutions, maybe you can share a little bit how the climate crisis is affecting as well your home in Uganda and how is the situation there on the ground.
Yeah, I'll start by saying how I got inspiration and passion to start my climate activism. I started back then in 2019
Mm-hmm.
after being inspired by Vanessa Nakate and also Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
They are the ones who showed me that at least the issues we are facing, the food insecurity, the hunger, the poverty,
Yeah.
the unemployment levels, they're all intersected on the climate change issues. You find that many young girls and women in the eastern part of Uganda, they are dropping out of school
Really?
because they are experience like because they're experiencing when they are hit by this climate crisis, they tend to be forced to go and at least into marriage so that they can be able to get dowry to sustain the family. But it's for a shorter period, so you tend to see that boys tend to be more favored than girls in terms of education. They'd be like, yeah, you can stay home and let your brother go on. Because for you, even if we educate you, even if we give you education, you end up being married to someone and we'll be making a loss. So that's the community perspective of people in the rural areas. And also, we have been experiencing quite a big number of devastating climate crises in our regions. Not only the eastern, but also the western has been hit by the floods,
Okay.
whereby people have lost their houses. They have also lost their livelihoods, and in the northern part of Uganda, we know that very well. In Uganda, most of the people, the biggest percentage, they depend on agriculture as a point whereby they can earn a living from. You find someone is selling his crops so that he can get something to eat, or
Yeah.
someone is doing farming, and out of it he can be able to sustain his family. But because of the prolonged drought in the northern part of Uganda, you end
Yeah.
up to find that there is crop failure. And once there is crop failure, this you find that in a home, a family can end up having a meal per day. Just
Say again, please.
recently, a meal, a
Mm-hmm.
meal,
Yeah.
or hardly have no meal per day. Previously, a month ago, we were hit by the famine in
Mm-hmm.
the northern eastern part of Uganda. That's the Karamoja region,
Okay.
whereby you would see how people are boneless. Like people hardly have nothing to eat just because of the prolonged drought. And then you find that these people are suffering, like they are really feeling that impact. And once you look at how they look, like physically, you tend to see that someone is really losing his body just because there's nothing, hardly nothing to eat because they can't do anything on their farms. And we hope they would create like innovations, something that can be able to sustain people in these semi-arid areas like the Karamoja region.
So, have you ever visited those places like where those impacts were happening so drastically?
Yeah, I've ever been there, and like not specifically in the northern western Karamoja region,
Yeah.
but we happen to visit the eastern part of Uganda, especially people who are also affected by the drought.
Mm-hmm.
And we happen to ask these on ground and frontline people, realize that the issues they are facing and they're experiencing, they're saying back then when they were growing up, back then when the climate was favorable. They had seasons. They would be like from January to February, that's the dry season. And
Yeah.
then from March to June, that's when rain comes. And then another rain can come from October until December. So there were seasons placed for harvesting and also crop like farming. But in the end, we found that these seasons are unpredictable. Anytime it can be like it can rain. Anytime there can be a lot of sunshine. So it was really hard for them to carry out uh, agriculture, and
Yeah, of
yet
course.
it's the our background, and it's our background strength for our economy. and also especially people from the most poor and rural communities. That's where they get something to eat from.
Like when you witness those things, like what changed then in yourself that you decided to get more involved in this climate activism movement, also that you're now actually here in Egypt and at the COP27.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was somehow like a process happening. Can you maybe describe how that has been for you?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I got to realize about the problems they're experiencing back at home. They were all interlinked. They all had the head, and that's climate change. If we don't take care of our environment, we will experience such problems. That's poverty, hunger, health wise, and also scarcity of water, all those issues, poor sanitation, they were all interlinked to climate change. So what really motivated me and what gave me the zeal to stand up and at least speak and also to stand up and at least advocate for climate justice, it was that because the eldest brother back at home, I have three young sisters and then one brother. So they're all growing up. They're coming where we are. I'm still in 20s, but they're coming. They're still in their teenager age, but they're coming. So what will they find?
Yeah.
And if we don't speak and demand, because we have spaces of the social media, the media people, the internet, we can raise this awareness, and also this space which where it wasn't so easy for many of the activists, especially from Global South, to come. First of all, the the prices, the prices of the hotels, the prices of of coming here, all it's really hurdling many people to come and at least share what they're experiencing back at home, because I feel the people who are who are sitting on these tables to make decisions,
Mm-hmm.
they're not listening to those stories. You find out that they have their own problems. Okay, you can say, yeah, we will provide an electric car, but yet in reality, someone from the northern region is starving. Someone wants food, an innovation which will bring food on the table, an innovation which will at least make it sustainable for them. So we need climate justice. It really requires to sit down with the people who are most affected so that you listen to them and provide that clear solution that will be able to impact them and also create a positive change in their livelihoods.
100%. And what were your experiences so far being here? Yeah. How was it so far? Like, did you have the feeling that people were taking you seriously, or I don't know how did things go?
Uh, I would say, as you can see in my t-shirt, this
What's
is
written there?
it's pay up for loss and damage.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we need, because you find most of the people who are most affected, they're not they're not the root cause. Okay, they're not the main people who are causing this
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
issue we are suffering, and you find they're greatly impacted and they end up losing their lives and dying, and also um, like trying to survive, and yet people are out there benefiting from like the suffering of the people. And most of these people, they are focusing on profits, and then they're not focusing on how we can have a future generation and how we can protect these people because we have limited time now, and we feel if we don't act now, nothing will change in reality.
So true. When we're talking about those problems the people in northern Uganda are facing, also with the floods and stuff, mm, what do you think would be really, really important at the UN climate conference here, but in general maybe? What should like really change? Like what is like something concrete that should be different, that yeah, things are going differently in a way? And what's maybe your ideas for a solution maybe?
Um, my solutions to this, it's on the table, it's available, but the problem we have is that the people who are in charge of these issues or these impacts, like affecting the people in those most affected communities, they're not coming up to support the people who are hit by the floods, like in eastern Uganda, in Nigeria, in Pakistan. In They're not coming up to help them. And just recently, I think a while back, there were floods in Germany, but it costed them. The government had to get billions of dollars, and then the place came back to normal. That thing we don't have it in developing countries.
Yeah.
We don't have it, so it's very hard for us to adapt. So that's why we come as climate activists, because I believe if we are all are together and also putting pressure, the people who are in charge of writing and also keeping the 1.5 degrees Celsius alive, and also putting what they wrote in the IPCC they concluded on, they need to at least implement these issues. They need to finance these projects because you see uh, how the infrastructures are impacted, especially how the floods impacted the road infrastructure. At least they can come in and renovate it. They can come in and construct barriers to avoid the mudslides. They can come in and at least provide literacy to these people who are next to the lake shores, the flood, like people who are encroaching into the slums.
Mm.
So education, providing finance that can be able to enable people to adapt from these issues. Those are my main focus. Yeah.
100%. And do you have the feeling so far that the people who are right now, or the leaders so called, who are negotiating right now in those rooms, yeah, all those big topics, that they that they that they take care about you, or like that they see you, or how is your impression so far?
I feel my perspective, I feel they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough. Yes, loss and damage now is, I feel it's going to be on the agenda, but it needs to be on the top. It needs to be given the first priority, to consider the people who are suffering
Mm-hmm.
because of someone's profits, people who are suffering because of uh, like someone's selfish interest of, because you're going to build a mansion, what, and yet someone is suffering. So I feel if there is love for the people, love for the planet, it will at least, if there is love for the people, love for the planet amongst these world leaders, at least they will create a positive change. And all that is can be done if they put on top like the loss and damage finance facility, and provide into terms of grants but not loans, so that we can be able to adapt and also mitigate in these climate crisis issues.
I see.
Yeah.
And as we're now talking about those things which are really, yeah, which are heavily sad as well, you know, like it's, I mean, I was talking to one podcast guest earlier. Her name is Aishka, and she also said like feeling sad and stuff like this. Climate doomism is also like a is you're I'm speaking out of a place of privilege, and it's true. So I need to reflect on that. But what I'm curious about is like in all those sad topics and which are really really they are so important. How do you still keep on going and keep on moving and feel the motivation that you're waking up every day and say like, hey, things are really shit, but I'm still trying to do something. Like, what is your mindset in that way?
I'm still hopeful that at least there is going to be a change, even if you don't have time. But I'm so hopeful because if we give up, no one will do what we're doing. And I'm so happy that here there are quite a number of activists from across nations coming together. And as I said earlier, coming together, it creates pressure on these people in these big spaces, in these top positions. Yeah, just a while ago, we meet. There is a youth pavilion, which creates space for us to come together and think and strategize and plan what we can do so that these leaders, these world leaders and policymakers can get to listen to us. Because I believe if we are stronger together, we can create that positive impact. And yes, I know they are feeling our pressure because they wouldn't sit in a room and discuss if we weren't there. Because everyone has a role to play. The scientists are writing the IPCC reports. We activists, we are advocating to make sure that at least whatever they decided on, it has to be put into action, real action. And the teachers, they're teaching the people. So everyone, and the media, it's spreading the message. So everyone has a role to play in this thing. It's not the role for only activists, but the role for everyone, at least to create an impact. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that. And maybe as we are ending soon our conversation, maybe is there like another topic you would like to talk about, or like an idea or an idea you have, like some words which should be spread, like feel
Okay.
free to talk about.
Okay. So back at home, I'm part of Rise Up movement,
Yeah,
and its main focus is amplifying voices to people of young activists like us and also fellow people. Uh, we have quite very like free projects, and that's the Vash Green project, whereby it deals on implementing renewable solutions like eco-friendly cooking stoves,
yeah,
providing solar panels to people,
yeah.
especially in the rural areas. And also, we have a project that's empowering young girls, especially women and young girls who are hit by the climate crisis in these regions, by making sure that they can be able to be provided with skills training so that they can be able to at least become job creators but not job seekers. That's spearheaded by Isaac and Vanessa. And there's also tree planting. We happen to reach out to different communities,
Nice.
especially communities which are hit by drought. And then we do tree planting. That's spearheaded by Evelyn. So personally, I'm spearheading a a project. It's not a project, but at least I saw there was a gap between, um, especially among us, the refugees. These people are with this some because you see, if you ask a refugee in a refugee camp, the person will tell you, yes, I was displaced by either conflicts among us, the wars, internal and also external. But if you are to notice, people are like they are giving a blind eye on people who are being displaced from their original areas, like their original where they used to stay, into another new place, and they are struggling the other side. So I'm working on that, trying to train them and also reach out to these camps so that they can be able to survive. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe as a final question, I just remembered, how do you wish that people from the global north um, can support your activism and support not your activism, I mean like support you the best? Like, how do you wish, because at the end the responsibility definitely lays on the global north, like for all the emissions like which were put like out.
Yeah.
So how do you wish that we take up responsibility, but also how do we support you the best? Maybe as a final question.
Yeah. My what I think, and as a kind of support, it's it's social, um, social, like how you're doing, like how you're providing this platform so that I can speak and also share my views back from home to the world. That's media, social, and also there is, of course, political, getting an opportunity to meet up with these people who are in charge of noting down all those big documents, putting them into summarizing them so that the lawyers and the politicians, so that we can sit on the same table and get to understand why are we experiencing this. And then we also need, of course, we need support in terms of funding, which can, in our projects, like I mentioned earlier, supporting them, because if you are to look, most of the activists from the global south nations, they are doing this voluntarily because they have passion for the people they are staying with, because they have passion for the land they are in, and that they feel that pain when someone doesn't eat, they feel that pain when someone dies. So that's the thing we need. We really need that support, not only financially, but in terms of coming together, sharing our message to the world. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So Edwin, um, thank you so much for taking your time and saying all those things. I hope that things will get better soon, and that we can see each other and like help each other as much as possible,
Yeah.
and take each other also seriously, and that the people on these negotiations are listening to you and to your cause, and keep up the great work you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna hear from you again. And thank you so much for taking time being here. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for hosting me, and I'm really privileged, yeah, for to be amongst all the people chose me, and that's really amazing and humbling to me.